it turns out that national parks and national forests will be shut down in the case of a government, the government shutdown actually does take place. There was an article that wrote about the review of several contingency plans that were completed in 2011 that were designed in case of a government shutdown. And if our government does in fact shut down, because Congress will not pass a budget for health care, then the federal land management agencies will be forced to close national parks, wildlife refuges, and national forests to the general public. But they will be kept open as possible places for drilling for oil, gas, and mining operations. The plan specifically states exactly, and I quote, effective immediately upon lapse of appropriations, the National Park Service will take all necessary steps to close and secure park facilities and grounds in order to suspend all activities. Roads will be closed and access will be denied. However, it also says, and I quote, access to personal or commercial holdings will be permitted. And it is made clear throughout that commercial operations will not be inhibited. And drilling actually is already happening right now in 12 national parks that most people are not aware of that are still open for operations. Now, offshore drilling and gas drilling in case of a government shutdown will not be inhibited hardly at all. However, the EPA would be greatly affected and practically shut down, so that would enable corporations like drilling and oil companies to continue with their business without the usual drawbacks of dealing with EPA regulations and other environmental setbacks, as they would consider them. And of course, if the national parks shut down and the wildlife refuges and the national forests, that would be a multi-billion-dollar devastating blow to the national tourist and recreation industry.
Well, it seems like the conservatives are basically getting everything they want out of the deal, where the American public pretty much got shafted again.
That's normal.
Yeah. Defunding the EPA and so forth. I don't know, but this has been a rumor going around that the XL pipeline might be in the talks in the works as well.
The deal would approve the Keystone XL pipeline and roll back a lot of the regulations on the oil and gas industry. So, absolutely, this would be a 100% win for corporate America, and a loss for us. I mean, you know, we get to lose access to the public parks.
Well, things like the Yellowstone National Forest and National Park, and it's actually, like I said, it's actually a multi-billion-dollar industry in this country. It's very lucrative, and to shut down all those parks and completely block off all access would be a very nasty blow. And also the environmental impacts, we don't know, what to expect, because I mean, there's, like I said, there's already drilling on 12 different national parks. Two of them that were specifically mentioned. You won't be surprised here. One of them was in Florida and one of them was in Texas. So
not a surprise.
Yeah.
It seems to me that when you want to talk about the finances for the country's broke. I mean, they want to talk about the government not being able to pay its bills. Like, if we're broke, we can't pay the fucking bills anyway. We're just borrowing it from China. I mean, at the moment, it seems like the upper echelon, you can call them the top 1%, if you will, mostly the top 0.5, 0.7% mostly. And it seems like they're just trying to unwind and unbind the social contract with the American people. I think that's just what it is. I mean,
to go more into the topic of the oil drilling continuing on federal lands despite a shutdown. I mean, in an ideal world, I don't know what the subsidy situation or what the agreements are of each individual contract are. They would honor agreements that don't cost money. Like if that makes money, it doesn't make sense to shut it down with the government. The only reason it would make sense is to shut it down to get the oil companies to put pressure on the Republicans to not shut down the government. So
But
like
keeping national parks open though, however, and keeping them, employed, whatever, making sure there are rangers and everything, uh, that doesn't cost very much money either. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. We're actually making this country as a whole, we're making a profit on keeping this industry open and alive. We're not spending very much federal money on keeping these operations moving.
yeah,
So it's petty for them to be making contingencies that would require national parks to be shut down when defense isn't going to be touched. Uh, all these things that actually do cost the country the most money will remain utterly unaffected. But petty little things that are petty insofar as financial perspective, but that are actually very important from a social welfare or social benefit perspective, these are the things that always get cut. Things like education, things like park and recreation, things like arts and entertainment. Libraries, roads. These are the things that get cut.
Going back to the national parks angle, what worries me most, actually, or should say what concerns me most, is the EPA angle. Okay, you're not having people out there, being able to inspect and make sure things are running safely. And depending on how long this shutdown goes, I mean, if you're going, a couple of months and a shutdown, you're bound to have some accidents that might happen. So,
right.
I mean,
The EPA, if the EPA gets basically shut down, then corporations that are now unhindered completely can do whatever. They can dump whatever anywhere. They can allow leaks to just go unchecked. Things will explode. People will die. Environments will be completely destroyed. It's going to be devastating. You can't have. I mean, this is what happens when. This is what would happen if corporations were to go completely unregulated.
yeah, but you're being incredibly I mean, the word I got to use is dramatic. Like the shutdown, if there is a shutdown, it's not going to be permanent. Like you're not going to be like, oh, the EPA is shut down for 4 weeks. Better undo every regulation that they ever put on us for the 4 weeks and then redo them when they come back online. Obviously, when they come back online, they're going to retroactively enforce things against them. That's what happened the last time there was a shutdown.
But the EPA is having a hard enough time enforcing things right now as it is, and they are being funded.
No, that's a good point. That's not at all dramatic. I think that's absolutely 100% correct. They do have a hard time, enforcing the current regulations that they have because of cutbacks and less staff and.
But that's a different issue. I'm just saying.
Well,
it's
not really, because how would you expect them to retroactively enforce all these things that have gone by the wayside for we don't know how long. It could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a few months, and then retroactively go back and deal with all whatever. Who knows what happens? A lot can happen in a couple months. A lot can happen in a month.